everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Inforunners podcast. And today we are going to be filming episode 24. Wait, 24.
I thought you were saying 22.
Well, guys, if you noticed the last set of episodes, we had kind of, well, an episode discrepancy, and that was actually not a mistake. That was actually due to the fact that we filmed this particular episode and we were like, well, the audio's bad, we had some other technical issues, and of course the acting
was a train wreck. It was just a complete train wreck. It was like unredeemable. And yeah, so episode 22 unfortunately never came to be, and that's why we're redoing it right now.
And we were wanting to talk about, for this episode, a topic which has been kind of a hot topic around the community off and on, as well as with all the 3.0 hype and the fanboys out, the new Cutlass and the Freelancer, and what's better, what's worse, what are the advantages, disadvantages. Well, we want to talk about Cutlass versus Freelancer today, and let's get started. I'm Dazan was here.
And this is Hayes. And because we've been droning on about the Cutlass a fair bit, I mean, who hasn't with the rework, we've had a number of people comment that, what about the poor Freelancer? The sort of twin brother of the Cutlass.
You mean the good twin brother. Yeah. Wow. And of course we say this just as that scene just appeared on the screen. So obviously it's the bad cousin. But
you know, basically these are two ships that is hard to avoid comparing. They fit the same sort of weight class, they do very similar things, yet they are unique in their own ways and fill roles very differently compared to each other. And today we're going to be comparing the two against each other.
Yes, and just to start off with what we know for sure and some of the kind of stated facts about these ships. First of all, these ships are entry-level multi-crew ships. These are the most affordable multi-crew ships out there for more than just 2 people. And these ships are also jack of all trades, and they're really the best jack of all trades out there, because as soon as you start getting larger and try to be a jack of all trade, you have problems unless you are specialized and can do more things. This is the perfect size to be able to not be specialized but be a jack of all trades.
Even with including the variants, they are very much a jack of all trades, going from medical to prisoner transport, exploration, and cargo. These things, they're designed to be able to do a bit of everything, and as well as sort of upgrade into other sort of more select and specialized roles. But at the same time, the Cutlass with rework has grown a great deal, and now it's very comparable to the Freelancer. Normally, before the Cutlass rework, the Freelancer was pretty much no-brains choice if you wanted a more capable ship. And now that they're very much the same, like if you look at the cargo space in the new Cutlass, it's got about 2/3 the cargo space of a regular base Freelancer. And so in terms of sort of size, and of course with the upgraded weaponry, they are now neck and neck with regards to what they can do. Now you need to more consider how they can do things differently from one another to better do a different sort of play style.
Oh, well, I would actually disagree with you. I think it's a no-brainer which one to pick, looking at the base models. But let's just look at these ships and the fact that jump points, and this is one statement which is really going to be key here. And we've done an episode on jump points, so if you want to hear our theories on jump points, go back there. But one thing that has to be stated with jump points is the Freelancer was stated to be one of the largest ships to be able to go through a small jump point. And this is really key to consider, and it's really important to wonder if this is all the case. With the Cutlass increase in size, does that mean they're going to have to now increase in size jump points to meet the needs of, well, your new ship?
I think they'll try and keep the Cutlass and the Freelancer to both true, those small jump points. They're supposed to be competitors to each other, and they are fairly similar in size. One is a little wider, one's a little longer, but in general, I think they're both in the same weight class. I think what really sets these apart from each other is sort of their play style, their design. Freelancer is very long. It has remote turrets as opposed to more forward-facing weaponry. Both of them technically have turrets, but the main thing is the Freelancer is a truck. It's going to fly like a truck. It's going to be great in a straight line. It's not going to be very maneuverable. It's going to rely on those remote turrets to cover the areas that it can't forward face. Whilst the Cutlass is very different, it should be able to turn on a dime. It may not be highly maneuverable, but it should be able to turn to face its opponents and probably rain down.
It's a Huey versus an F-150.
Yeah.
Simple enough. Huey versus F-150. While the Freelancer is sleek and pretty, the Cutlass is a workhorse. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be functional. And you really notice that with a couple of things. Everything from one of the big features, which is the cargo bay in both. Cargo is going to be important for both. But if you look at how the cargo bays are designed, the Freelancer is a truck in the traditional sense that you load stuff in the back, and if you look back there, you try getting to your cockpit from the back when it's fully loaded. It's not gonna happen. You're gonna have to use the other door. While the Cutlass is actually a lot better designed in that feature, being as you can put your cargo back, especially now that you got that rework there. And if you look right back here, you can still, after you've put stuff in your cargo bay, be able to walk back there. So it's a little bit better designed in that feature.
It has a lot less wasted space, like the Freelancer that has a much longer sort of hull base and still needs to have room for people to walk through the center of it. Unfortunately, it is very wasteful in its design if it comes to cargo, although luckily it does seem to have a tiny bit more cargo, and if you include the max, it's definitely a much sort of bigger cargo capacity. But we'll get into the variants a little later. At the moment, we really want to compare the base models. Another thing that's probably in the Freelancer's favor more recently has been the new rendered to texture-based systems. The idea that you will be able to do remote turrets from an actual console, which the Freelancer has 2 of them. Those remote turrets, being able to use them from a console and actually have decent line of sight to fire from. This is a big deal breaker for the Freelancer. Suddenly, if both of those turrets are able to link into the main systems, and you can use rear side cams for the MFDs on top of the turrets, this becomes a highly practical setup that will make the Freelancer be able to do broadside based movements with regards to firing solutions, and this levels the playing field with regards to the Freelancer being more of a tank but being able to shoot in all the directions, as opposed to the Cutlass being more maneuverable but being able to bring all its guns to bear more easily in a forward-facing solution.
Which has traditionally been a big argument, because of that rear turret.
Turrets, everyone's been in an uproar about how crap turrets are and how important it is for gameplay, and it's only just recently that they've started working on turrets. And probably the more important thing is remote turrets. The rendered to texture ability of turrets is going to be that real game deal breaker, I should say, that changes the way this type of gameplay ends up working out.
Yes, and actually, if you look at this little clip right here in the video of your Freelancer, it was able to turn its guns sideways and shoot. That is a big game changer. If the Freelancer only has those turrets slaved, and that's the way they permanently decide to leave it, the Freelancer is doomed in any sort of combat function, just because you have such limited movement. And then you have that horrible rear turret, which is, well, size 1s and not exactly in a very good position. But
I'm sure they're going to upgrade that to parity with the Cutlass, though. If they put the 2 size 2s on the turret, it'll actually be worth putting a person in there.
Actually, keep it at size 1, but make it automatic PDS, and then you now have the best turret system. You now have a rear PDS system. If they allow that rear turret to be turned into some sort of AI PDS style turret, you've now turned the Freelancer into something that's actually quite good, being as you now have a better defensive capability than you previously would have. And who cares if you're not as maneuverable, if you can shoot down some of the missiles behind you, and you can now have a true multi-crew experience with a shield operator, a pilot, and then 2 people manning the other 2 side turrets. That's a true multi-crew.
The thing is, these ships, as they fly now, as we use their weapons right now, is not how they're going to work in future. At the moment, we have the pilot directly controlling both the guns, and for the Freelancer as well as the Cutlass. More than likely in future, they'll separate these systems so that anyone at a control station can either, I'm not saying necessarily fly, but also target gunnery. So if you were to gimbal all of the Cutlass's forward-facing guns, it's more than likely you could have a dedicated pilot as along with a dedicated gunner in order to do mouse-based aiming movements, along with dedicated pilots for the Freelancer and dedicated gunners on the turrets. The sort of gameplay these ships are going to do is greatly and vastly different and superior in actual implementation to what we've been experienced as of to date. And this will change how these ships are sort of seen with regards to their ability to defend themselves, or perhaps even, as a military asset.
Well, let's just say this. If you look at gun placement, even if you have those side guns and everything, you're still going to be looking at the Cutlass being a little bit better, being as if it's a little bit more maneuverable, having 4 with the new ones, fixed size 3 weapons, plus the way the turret is on there. That's technically, you're looking at 6 size 3 weapons in a forward assault arc.
Yeah, but the Freelancer has those bigger missiles. It has more of them. If the MISC system, if they hopefully make a more modular, I mean, like, look at the Constellation. They've made it so like the forward front cockpit can be taken out and upgraded to all the different variants. Most of the Constellation parts are cross-compatible with exception for the Taurus. They've been moving in this direction for the Cutlass as well, saying that there are no unique hulls anymore for the Cutlass. And therefore, these systems will most likely be swapped in such a way you can mix and match them. If they do the same thing for the Freelancer, I could imagine people putting MISC systems on the base Freelancer, putting DIR systems on the Freelancer Max to get the best of both worlds. In this sort of a system, I think the Freelancer has the benefit of added more missiles. The fact it's very good at shooting in a broadside movement, unlike the Cutlass, which could be against a faster fighter, might be completely outmaneuvered. And as I said, with that turret, I can't see them keeping the 2 size 1s on that turret. They're definitely going to up those to size 2, and then it's at parity to the Cutlass.
Well, you have other big issues, though. The Freelancer, as great it is if you do that, I understand there is a pressurized cargo bay. Awesome. Cool. All of that. But the issue is, if you're not needing the pressurized cargo bay, it makes getting larger pieces of cargo in there a lot harder. You have to walk all the way around. Just that functionality, it really hurts. Yes, it has 4 beds. 4 beds are going to be important. But you can carry 5 people, ideally, in a Freelancer, but you can carry 9 in a Cutlass.
Yeah, but I think that's more as a transport, like as a transport dash dropship. I mean, if you're talking about actually having 5 people on a Cutlass, that's not a true multi-crew experience. I mean, 2 of those are passengers at best. So it's a very different sort of experience. I mean, it makes sense to have 4 to 5 people in a Freelancer, and they actually have jobs and roles they could do as part of a multi-crew experience. And I think the Freelancer, by being able to have dedicated roles for the gunnery, piloting, systems, and shields, it does have a lot of advantages over the Cutlass in that way.
Well, just imagine you have those people, but you also have the fact that you can store 2 vehicles. You might be able to fit 1 Dragonfly in a Freelancer, but if you have 2 Noxes in your Cutlass, just imagine dropping the Noxes outside the... they just leave the thing. You now have 2 small snub craft helping you out. That right there is a big asset.
I'm not going to deny that, but without skipping too far ahead into the variants, I don't see why the Max couldn't fit something like a Cyclone. And
if
then,
the Max fits a Cyclone and you could put dirt parts on it, that hands down wins the Explorer of the Year award.
The little Explorer that could. The Freelancer Max Explorer with the Cyclone with the Recon-based upgrade. That, yeah. And I think that's something the Freelancer has going for it more than the Cutlass, because if those parts really are mix and matching and you can sort of make a sort of more a focused Freelancer but not so much of a combat Cutlass, it gives the versatility for things that the Freelancer is better at, but at the same time I think the Cutlass will be better for more quick engagements, more dangerous drops, like the Medivac
better than
as
the
an ambulance.
Hoplite already. It just with the side doors and everything, it is hands down better.
It's got the same sort of turret. It should have some decent coverage because it's raised. With the side doors, you can turn the Cutlass around to a target while it's hovering above ground and bear most of its arms while your guys either go out through the back or through the sides. It's incredibly versatile as a dropship. I mean, at the end of the day, you say, well, Hoplite has military-grade hardware, but... yeah, but, like, shouldn't you be able to upgrade both of them to military hardware to spec at a later date? I mean, who cares about the actual guns, and it's a gunship.
But you can carry a lot of things. It's a Huey. You wipe, or a Warthog, and you just go in there.
It's closer to a Warthog.
Well,
like
Warthog, if a Warthog could carry a bunch of troops. Well, that's what I said. It's kind of this weird hybrid.
Yeah. So I think it's funny how they managed to make the Cutlass into more of a Huey, which outdoes the official dropship for the Squadron 42. I think they really should have made the Cutlass, but it probably came a little too late in the redesign for them to... They'd already made the Hoplite by then, which is a shame, but, you know... More dropships, I guess, but I'll stick with my Cutlass, thank you.
Well, just because we have to talk about it, range. Hands down, range is going to have to go to your Freelancer, and that's going to be an advantage in some ways, but if there's enough stations and everything that you can go to, the Freelancer may be a little bit better. Just because...
You mean Cutlass?
Oh, yeah, Cutlass. Don't know why I was thinking Freelancer. You're making me think of the Freelancer a lot more, even though Cutlass is my baby.
It's starting to grow on you, isn't it?
Only if, and that's the problem.
Come to the dark side.
No, standard tractor beams wins out. I'm sorry, standard tractor beams makes this a base level salvage vessel, even though there isn't one currently. It is your smallest level, in my opinion, salvage vessel because you have tractor beams on it stock, you have plenty of room for crew to help maneuver everything, you have the side doors to help work the cargo in. I mean, you have vehicles to maybe help drag it. That just gives it right there. An easy
Freelancer Max, speaking of longer range, multi-crew, having 4 beds and the Cutlass only has 2. If you're going a long range, you'd hope some of your friends could log out.
Forget it. They can keep my ship moving.
It's like, nah. So, I think the Freelancer has a longer range, perhaps away from home for a long time, or perhaps you've got 4 friends and you all want to log out and start up again. I think the Freelancer is a definite contender, as opposed to the Cutlass, which would be you'd have to expect to go home every time, unless you're only like 2 people. That's a major downside.
Well, part-wise, your ship may be a little bit more reliable, but its parts are going to be much more expensive than my Cutlass. Just saying.
Although I have to admit, something the Cutlass does have down pat is the cockpit view.
Amen. And I'm just actually going to go, your Freelancer cockpit view is...
I
self-explanatory.
the new MFD technology, the way they'll be able to put all the MFDs up I want to as a hologram so I can see that correctly, I think that's going to lead to the Freelancer cockpit not
You're
being quite as bad as it
making
was.
a lot of assumptions. A lot of assumptions there.
Be a cam, and then you can stick that on MFD as a hologram in front of you, and then put the side view, like side view mirrors, on the actual MFD in front of that screen. Suddenly, you have this situational awareness that the Freelancer would be very good at. Unlike the Cutlass, which has to have all those screens on a very limited number of MFDs, with this holographic system the Freelancer is lending itself to, you might be able to get more information. And with the added of sort of side view and rear view mirrors and how many other view mirrors you want to add to your situational awareness, and the fact that the pilot isn't manning the guns because you have someone on a side terminal doing that, I think the Freelancer is going to be a lot more practical than what some people come to realize.
Hayes, I think you are living in La La Land here. That is so far speculation that they're going to even come up with something like that for this particular ship. I would take the cockpit view as it is and say it's going to be as bad as it is.
They make it work for one ship, and it should work for all the ships. It's not a custom implementation anymore. So as long as they start doing rear view on an MFD as an optional, to cycle through it and select it, or like side view mirrors and things like that, it doesn't matter. You do it for one ship, you do it for all, and suddenly cockpit views on ships are not as big a deal as everyone's been making it out to be, because you have that situational awareness again.
Disagree. Look at this cockpit view right here. If you look right at the front of the thing, you have this huge dip down like visor thing. It's like going, I don't want to actually see what's clearly in front of my cockpit view. I have a much clearer side view than I have front view, and that's kind of needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the best thing. I mean, people fly aircraft with similar views as this.
But you're actually closer up to the aircraft spot.
I still think it would be good if the radar detection and sort of extra side and rear views all come to fruition. I think it won't be a problem, and I think it won't be a problem for a lot of ships. Starfarer, I'm looking at you. Those big ships really need those extra viewports to be, from landing to maneuvering around in cramped spaces, and these and the Reclaimer and other things. These are all ships that desperately need these systems. So if they get it, Freelancer's going to be able to get it too.
Well, I will have to say they also need to fix that for your turret view, because that is one thing the Cutlass really fails at. The turret is a great placement, but it's like you have giant blinders on your face and you're going, where are you? Where did you go? Where did you go? Where did you go?
We'll see if I think the new turret looks promising though. In the new redesign, it does. We'll have to see. I mean, we haven't seen anyone get into the turret yet to show us, so.
Well, guys,
breath.
What do you think? Are we right? Are we wrong? I know we've done an analysis. I'm still for the Cutlass because it just does so many things much better in the base model.
I'm a Cutlass fan myself, but I think the Freelancer is going to surprise a lot of people. I think it's going to be not what people think it is to be. And as we move forward, both of these ships will be seen in a new and different light.
Guys, please feel free to leave comments below. We really encourage it. It's great to see what you actually think.
This episode is a result of other people's comments. So, we do listen to you, and we do try to, follow up on these sorts of things. So if you don't forget to like and subscribe down below.
And as always, see you around.
Catch you around.